Let's see. Okay, and I'm going to go live here, and here we go. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Goldfish Report. I'm your host and researcher, Louisa. Today is Friday, August 23rd, 2024. This is Goldfish Report number 1112. I'm still working on my 1111 report, which is going to be dedicated to Steve, who, for those of you who weren't here in the last report, I had terrible, terrible news that our beloved friend and co-host since the beginning of Goldfish Report and before has passed away. And it's horrible, just horrible, horrible. Uh, so I will be doing a special dedication to him, and I'm still working on it. It's going to take time. Steve and I did many, many, many reports together. And Steve, this isn't really what Steve did. Steve was a very well-known and opera singer extraordinaire, really, a global world-class opera singer. And he was a wonderful, wonderful person, very generous to give his time to Goldfish Report and weigh in on the issues and things that are going on in the world. And he is sorely and sorely will be and continue to be sorely missed. And of course, we've had a lot of this on Goldfish Report. We also lost our beloved Dr. Scott Werner. And it's crazy. We've been going 9 years now, and we just had our anniversary really in August this past week. But we keep moving on and keep moving forward. And of course, joining me tonight for our Food for the Soul is psychic medium Mark Christopher Nelson, who is also a friend of Scott Werner, Dr. Werner. So, I'm so glad to have you back. Mark, welcome back to the Goldfish Report.
Louisa, it's always fun to be here. And I love the things that we get into. I feel honored to, you know, in any way be associated with you. The idea that Scott would drop in and say things occasionally. I do want to ask you one thing about Steve. Is
Okay.
did he have any other artistic abilities? Was he like beyond the singing? Do you know if he was artistic? Could he paint or draw really well?
I'm not sure about the drawing, but he did have a very interesting camera and took amazing
Okay.
pictures.
Because I'm
Hmm.
seeing that these other beautiful images come to life when I'm looking at him, seeing him. Okay.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, I
Um,
mean, I'm not sure how much painting he did. He didn't really share that with me, other than that I know that he um was a real avid photographer.
mhm.
Hmm.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, I just see him creating beautiful visuals. So I'm not trying
Mm.
to retrofit here,
Okay,
but
no
it look,
problem.
and it feels like that they were more than just representational. They could be kind of, he took a lot of time to imprint his own view on the images. So that's just something that I'm seeing with him. Also too, it's like he's oh, it just he's saying that being away from the pain of it is really useful, or then it went from being pain to not being clear. So he's very glad that he's able to be of clear mind. Okay.
Right. I'm just taking a little note here.
Well, it's been an interesting week in the news and the world, and there's so many things
Sorry.
happening. Before Louise and I were on the air, we were just talking about just there's some big changes coming at us in somewhat unpredictable ways. And it can be, I mean, you can worry about it or you can prepare for it. And
Mm.
worry to me is always like feels like sand in the gears or static. It doesn't really do much except seemingly slow you down.
Mhm.
So another thing we were talking about was I've been, as you know, as a psychic medium, I depend very heavily on my intuition. What I think is important, what I think someone wants to hear or needs to hear. It's not what they want to hear, because that's easy just to tell people what they want to hear. It's what they need to hear, which can be sometimes um, pretty important, pretty
Mhm.
gut-wrenching at times. They
Mhm.
may not always want to hear it, but they need to hear it. Um, And so to that point, I try to read a lot of different things. I'm reading, I've read enough. I mean, I read spiritual um, books that get me thinking at a
Mhm.
spiritual level. But I also, as a change of pace, I started reading a book called Becoming Bulletproof by her name is Evie, and it's a Greek last name that I'm going to butcher. Pomporos, I think it is, Pomporos. And what she talks about, and I think is, she was a former Secret Service agent for the president. She was on the president's Secret Service staff. She was in several administrations. She was also one of the few women to step into what was largely at the time almost a fully man's world. And so, in order to survive in that, she had to hone certain skills that perhaps some of the other agents didn't need to rely on so much.
Mhm.
Intuition, a sense of her own gut, trusting
Mhm.
it. And so I was really kind of pleasantly surprised. In fact, I imagined that she would have been all just a fax, ma'am, something out of the old Dragnet
Right,
show.
right,
But
right, right.
she highly advocates that as average people, that we pay attention to our gut feelings and that we pay attention to our intuition. And the idea is that if you're not feeling, say, a good vibe or sense of positive energy from someone,
Mm.
it may be in your best interest to step back from them or to, not be forthcoming about what you're
Mm.
thinking, hearing, feeling.
Mm.
So the idea is to be aware of, don't give away anything to someone that you may feel uncomfortable with or about. And this comes from someone who,
Mm.
um, well, it's her book. She's brilliant, but the idea that she's dealt with a lot of difficult, dangerous people. And so if it applies to what she does, Louisa, it applies to what you do. It applies to what I do
Right.
and hopefully our listeners. So the moral of the story is be sure to, I mean, if you're getting like a really strong sense of like a feeling of positive or negative or fear or flight or embrace, don't try to dismiss it.
Mhm.
Be attentive to it, you know, and it could save your life, change your life, improve your
Mm.
life.
Okay. We have a question from a viewer. Would this be a good time?
Sure.
Okay, great. We have, let's see, wrong tab. Hold on a second. We have beautiful Inger Marie Anderson from Norway. She said she finally caught us live, so she has a question for Mark. That's lovely. She says, "Does Mark see anyone with her?" Um, Her name is Inger Anderson from Norway. Is there anyone on the other side, or is there any messages for Inger?
Um, I feel like that I hear a man, a name, and I don't know, well, Anderson, but I mean, uh, maybe it's Anders or something along those lines. He feels rather tall, and I feel like he's flexing his back up, down, back, and but he's coming forward to like, then he stands and kneels next to you. So, I'm aware of the last name is Anderson, but I get another A name associated. Andy, something
Anderson.
Andrew, A name. And that he feels like there's affection and the idea that he would kneel down next to you
Oh.
as a loving gesture. By the way, I have relatives in Fredrikstad, Norway, so I don't know where she is,
Hmm.
but
Hmm.
I have yet to go. We talk and we write and we've emailed, but I have
Hmm.
yet to.
Hmm.
Um, excuse me, get to Fredrikstad, a place I have to go.
Oh, wonderful. I hope that that made sense. Inger, could you just let us know if you were able to validate that, if you knew, was that it? Was that it,
It
Mark?
feels like tall man stretches his back. He makes a big deal about being like his back bothering him. So there's that.
Mm.
The other thing too is that I feel like that there's a woman that shows up and she shows up dancing, twirling, spinning. She feels like someone who's like a little bit acrobatic, gymnastic. And she steps forward as well as and feels like um I think she's saying, I'm just a friend. I'm just a friend. So
Okay.
we'll see what that translates out to.
Okay, wonderful. And we have another viewer with a question. Um, Her name is Sunny McLaughlin. So would you have any messages for Sunny McLaughlin?
Um, oh, that all of her other dogs are happy with what she's doing. All of her other dogs are happy with what she's doing. All of her other dogs on the other side, all the other dogs on the other side, feels like that there's a whole crew of them there. Okay. I also feel like that daughter, Sunny's daughter shows up. And I feel like that she loves walking with the dogs with her. Feels like Sunny's daughter. I happen to know Sunny. Sunny's daughter shows up, and I feel like she loves being in the pack of all of these new sweet animals. She feels like it's really important. Also, too, I feel like that Sunny is doing some meditating with candles. I don't know if she does that. She has them on. I would suggest, taking a little time to see how she can sit, relax, speak to her daughter a little bit. I feel like daughter is definitely coming up, giving her a hug. And then it feels like, oh, it's like, Sunny, make sure you're taking good care of foot health. I'm not sure what this is. I feel like either like strained and something in the foot. Just be nice to the feet. Okay.
Okay, interesting. So we also have a message from Vicky.
Oh,
And my dear, dear Vicky, she wants to know if there's any messages from Scott or Daniel tonight.
well, Scott showed up earlier for me. Um, he's I get this visual that he's appreciating that she's learning to find calm in spite of everything that she's been through. I see him stroking her hand, kind of going like you're going to be okay. I feel like that there's a
Hmm.
visceral meeting almost of she can feel him being next to her. So I think
Hmm.
that that's a sign of comfort. He also says that um, I feel like he's showing me that he's doing what he can to protect Vicky, and he says the gifts that I left for her, um, the resources that I left for her. Um, when I look at Danyon, um, Danyon is, I feel like he's showing me that he's feeling much more lighthearted. I see Danyon being very athletic, being able to almost walk on his hands, being kind of, uh, he says, I feel lighter. I'm in a better place. I have, I understand things more clearly. He says, I'm right next to you. I feels like that Danyon gives her lots of hugs. I'm going to say Danyon is giving hugs. Danyon feels much more open, relaxed. He feels like that the body was the problem for him. It felt like the things were overly complicated when he was on this plane. Now he feels light. And I get this visual of him. I don't know if he could do it, like walking on his hands, being pretty athletic, being pretty gymnastic like. So, but he wants me to tell you that uh, I mean, you're going to have a much better holiday season than perhaps you anticipate. Feel like daughters come home, they're there for you, and it feels um, bitter but sweet,
Hmm.
and to not lose sight of that. Okay.
Oh, okay. That was very, very interesting. And we have a comment from Inger Marie Andressen. She says that she's not doesn't know anybody with that description that so
Okay.
maybe maybe it's not someone that you realize yet.
That could be the case. I saw like Anders. I don't know if that was if that was her last name. Um,
um, Anderson and
Anders.
Dressen, yeah, and Dressen.
Listen, the other
Hmm.
thing I'm seeing is like I don't know if there's a person I see smoking like
Mm.
almost kind of compulsively. I don't know if this was someone that connected to her on the other side, but
Mhm.
I'm seeing someone talking and flicking ashes like this. So, um, um, male energy shows up. If I'm not getting it, I can't tell you why, but this guy does stand up. He seems like he's somewhat tall and flicking ashes. I feel like that she didn't really either have a warning. He was gonna. There was. He feels like his passing was something of a surprise. That's what I get.
For Inga.
Yeah,
Yeah. Anger, sometimes I have to really sit down and think because sometimes the way a medium describes things, it doesn't hit me right away who the person is that they're referring to. So just, you'll have the recording. You can go back and watch this later and listen again to the description.
Mhm.
It might be a relative or somebody you might have been too young to remember, or it could have been, maybe a grandparent that, you might have been too young to remember. So you never know. See, the thing about these readings is that you never know who's going to show up. Case in point, what was the first thing that happened tonight? You,
Okay.
I
Yeah.
said, I said, well, by the way, before we get started, is there any messages that you might want to, bring up that I might not want, on the air? But this one, he didn't know until he goes through it, right? And go ahead, you can explain.
So I said the first name I hear tonight is Max.
Hmm.
And I see a guy that kind of presents as almost like a long, very long-limbed, tall guy. And it's almost like he's just doesn't know what to do with himself almost, kind of gangly walk. And he gives a big peace symbol, but he also looks like a guy that I wouldn't want to mess with under any circumstance.
Hmm.
He's not a big softy. He could be, um, I'm getting goosebumps, ferocious.
Hmm.
So if provoked, and so, but Max shows up with love and a little kiss on the top of the head for you.
That's amazing because the only Max that I know who would come through would be Max Steele, who has been a guest on the GoldFish Report a long time ago. And Max was someone who had worked at Area 51, among other places. In fact, Max claimed to be the driver. And I haven't, I know other people who had worked with him who I've also interviewed, other whistleblowers, regarding Area 51. And he basically drove the trucks that if there was a crashed UFO, he would transport it back to Area 51 or wherever they wanted the UFOs to go. Could have been
Wow.
S4 or whatever. So he was the truck driver and person who would rig those to transport them. And I know this report just took a completely turn in another direction, but it's the reality. A lot of it is reverse engineered. In fact, our government probably uses more of it, but there's still so many questions unanswered about the nature of our world that, we'll see it in time. We'll see in time. And sometimes our crossed over loved ones give us a little insight into that to the
They
extent that they
do.
can. Yeah. And
Well,
I have a very specific thing I'm waiting for Steve to tell me about, but it'll come when it
um,
comes, right? It'll come when it
it
comes.
does. I just feel like I don't know if he. I know you had mentioned that he didn't do artwork, but I see what looks like kind of a very interesting little graphic. I don't know if there's anything to this that he would create, use. It looks very organic in the shape and form of it. He's showing me what could be either kind of something like an insect in plants. It's beautiful, it's pretty, it's not unattractive or discomforting. You know, there's a kind of a fantastical look to this. So um, I'm, I feel like that he says too, I'm disappointed that I wasn't able for so many reasons. As I did almost everything I wanted to do professionally. Um, I wish I had more time with some of the people that I loved. He said professionally, there wasn't anything that I was missing. It was more about trying to sort out personal feelings and love and trying to be there for people that I cared about. Even if I was angry with them at times, I still cared about them intensely. and he feels like a guy that um, loved deeply. And so, in spite of some of the difficulties he may have run into in relationships, it feels like he was passionate. He had strength. He was had depth. So that's what I'm getting from Steve.
Oh, that's beautiful because he was. I mean, to be an opera singer of his caliber, you absolutely have to um, allow yourself to experience a wide range of um, not just emotions, but I think have a greater understanding and greater perspective, different perspective, as you said. Yeah,
Hmm.
it's possible. I mean, the thing about Steve was brilliant. I mean, if you wanted to go to a market,
Hmm.
this is the guy to bring with you. He knew a lot about a lot of things, and he knew a lot about things that were very valuable that would look like nothing to most people. And then you'd find out it was like this gem. And in fact, um, so if he had a great appreciation for things that I think most people would just not even notice, and so he did have that very attention to detail kind of thing,
Hmm.
and he definitely I was a little jealous, I'll admit, that he was at a market, a flea market, I guess, in Europe or something, and he found one of um Beethoven's death masks that
Oh
was
my God.
casted. Yeah, well, that was a big deal for her, for he and I both, because
Yes.
I went to music school, and for me, that Beethoven was my personal um, main inspiration when it came to what I studied, and and same with him. So I think Mozart was a little bit more important to him. I think he was a little bit closer, connected more to Mozart than Beethoven. But Steve did sing. I mean, he sang all of it, and they were very different stylistically. And he mastered that. It was
Hmm.
amazing. He was such a master. And he did do a lot. He did accomplish a lot. But I mean, at 57, obviously your life is cut short and you're just
Hmm.
not, and even if you're a little bit older, right? Let me check in with our live chat because we have some comments here. Yeah, we have some people sending love to Vicky in the chat here. So I hope you see that, Vicky. Thinking about you, Vicky. Oh my God. So, yeah, and Inger said thank you, and Sunny said thank you as well. And so did Vicky. So that's very nice. So yeah, I mean, the thing about it is, you don't have any control over who comes by
No, I
and
don't.
yeah,
And that can be frustrating for the people I'm reading for sometimes.
yeah,
But then
yeah.
they realize, once you recognize that, yes, if you're fully expecting mom to show up and her sister shows up, or your grandfather that maybe you didn't know very well, but then grandfather starts telling you things that
Hmm.
were unexpected,
Hmm.
that you didn't know,
Hmm.
that it's like maybe you need to know. And that goes back to why, it's like maybe if you're better at listening from one person, I do feel like that grief is a hard thing, and that when you're very focused on wanting to hear from one person,
Yeah.
that kind of laser focus and the anger and the energy, it makes it hard to quote unquote, like clear the mechanism, clear your mind in order to be able to receive messages from the people you so much want to talk to.
What about our pets? Can you give me give our viewers a little idea of what messages, like what do they experience really? I mean, have you gotten an insight on like how the pets are doing on the other side?
Yes, frequently. For many people, some of their best relationships in life are not with people per se, but some of their pets. And and pets clearly can be intuitive.
Mhm.
Um, you almost wonder how they know certain things. They know when you're coming home, all of this stuff. But I've had pets tell me things like, um, what their favorite food was. Like one I was reading for had a very large like mixed breed, and it was showing me a bowl of spaghetti.
Did you get a flavor of bake?
Huh?
Sorry. Did you get a flavor of bacon in your?
Bacon, bacon, bacon. No, I got
I'm
spaghetti.
kidding. I'm kidding with you. Yeah, that is funny. I was just,
No, but like they'll
I
show
would
me like a,
imagine you'd start feeling, because I know like when you're medium, right? Sometimes you smells
oh
like
yeah,
that they're trying the person around you, or
oh yeah.
you feel it somewhere in your body. I kind of feel like you could
Yeah, I
taste
don't
the,
like the
was
lamb
it
stew. It
bacon?
doesn't work. The lamb stew dog food. No.
Why'd you feed me that?
Yeah, didn't you know? Couldn't you smell the moment the can opened that this is horrible?
That would be funny.
No, they do show up, and also
Yeah.
to they interact with our other pets.
Hmm.
When we let go of a pet, I had
Hmm.
to be there when I was with my mom when she had to put down a beloved pet, and dog could barely walk, had to carry her in, and then but it was like as a younger dog, she could run circles. She was like a flying cannonball, but as at the end of her life, she had like disabling joint pain.
Oh.
And so, but as soon as she
Mm.
let go of the physical body, she was running around as a mom dog, we called her name. Her name was Red, hardly a feminine girl's name, but the dog's name was Red.
Mhm.
Red was running in circles, and I said,
Mm.
"She's here. She's showing me that she's good." I also had to, about a year or so ago, had to put down a shepherd, a German shepherd that we
Mhm.
had very long time. And I felt like love, I feel like that there was peace there. This isn't just for me. She was telling me that it's like, I can't move anymore. I'm very conscious of being this burden. This dog was like very um, very low maintenance until one day she
Mm.
was not able to control her bodily functions,
Mm.
and so it became, then she couldn't walk. I had to carry her in to the vet. I think we went too far. We were hoping, crossing our fingers. And so often the messages I get are that, okay, you had to bring me to the vet for me to cross over. You weren't going to let me pass at home. I understand you didn't want me to suffer. I mean, one of the
Mm.
things with animals is that they're very conscious of pain, food, pleasure. They're very
Mm.
conscious of emotion. So while they may not have understood every single word you said, they understood the feeling behind them. And if you understand someone's feeling and intent, that's most of the battle. That's most of the conversation.
Mm.
So,
Um, well, actually, I have a cat that I think is not really going to be with us much longer, so she's not doing well at all.
feels like that there's a lot of inflammation that is hard to control.
Yeah.
Feels like that there's just kind of like a low grade pain associated with her. Um,
Mm.
feels like it feels gut pain is pretty intense. Feels like that it feels like kind of a hot pain there. So she can sleep through it, but it's disruptive and it is stressing her out a great deal and makes her heart rate rather high is what it feels like. So
Yes, it's true. No, I see her heart rate. You can see her little belly breathing quickly, and she's got this large tumor, and I'm telling you, on her leg, and it is huge. And it seems
mhm.
like it's parasiting, because I think she almost looks malnourished, but she eats every meal. It's
Yeah.
just it's all feeding the tumor. And I'm gonna be taking her for an appointment. I'm not sure she'd even, how she'd even do, during, have it surgically removed, but whatever.
If she has other my sense is that if you had the tumor, when she's not 10 years old, she feels younger than 10.
I don't know, she's probably around 10. She's a little bit older, but
Okay. I think
not
if you had it
really
removed,
old.
it's going to be complicated. I feel like that it's around a couple of critical veins. It would be hard to remove successfully and completely. So
Mm.
just see what the prognosis is. It feels like that if you removed the tumor, it would extend her life, but I would be very cautious about cutting something important that the tumor seems to have wrapped around, be it an artery or something. It feels like it would be hard to fully remove surgically.
Well, one of the consultations we already had was they thought they might have to remove the leg. And I'm like, at her age, though, that just seems like
Cruel, almost.
seems like that's just not going to be an option for her at her age.
No.
So I was thinking take as much of the tumor out as you can, and we'll try to control. And I'm using all this fenbendazole, and the ivermectin doesn't. She doesn't do well on it. She really has some bad side effects, and I'm just so surprised at how it's not helping. And it might not be the right dose. It might not be because this is um whatever it is, it's very firm. I mean, it is not like a soft tissue. It is firm. It's not good. It can't be a good
Well,
thing. So I don't know. I hope the surgery will be, um,
I would try to get as much of it removed,
yeah,
short of, amputating a leg.
yeah,
Also, too, once they're in there, they'll be able to see, I think, a little more, although
yeah.
X-rays or whatever, and
Mm,
their ability to scan things are pretty amazing. But I feel like that it would extend her life, quality of life for a while.
yeah, for a while. Yeah, well, and it all adds up, right? Very expensive, this surgeries and things like
Oh yeah.
this. And
Hmm.
yeah, it's not, you get to that point where they're at that stage of life and it's getting more expensive for their health, for sure. But thanks for that. Yeah, you did read for her before.
Oh,
You did pick up on her in the past. Yeah. It was in the first couple reports that we did together, you asked if she had walked with a wobble.
ah,
And for the viewers who may have, been present when you said that, this is the same cat. So
uh,
anyway, yeah, it's
it's
but
hard.
they never give you any insight. Well, actually, it's not true. You do get insight for yourself, right?
Yes. I mean, I get messages. I mean, primarily, it's like I have a couple of go-to people on the other side. I have a stepdad, an actual he was my birth father. He just died when I was 11. So both
Mm-hmm.
dads show up
Mm-hmm.
pretty frequently with
Mm-hmm.
useful messaging.
Mm-hmm.
And very much, in so many ways, I've taken parts of both of them into my adulthood and where I am now. Without both of them in different measures, I would not clearly be the same person. I've also had a
Mm-hmm.
guide, and what I would tell people is this:
Mm-hmm.
what does my guide look like? I said,
Uh,
well, your guide is going to show up looking like someone that you want to talk to or that you're comfortable with. In the Bible, it talks about angels coming down on shepherds and they were petrified. But and I'm sure that was, in
mm-hmm.
the context of what happened there, it was realistic. Um, for me, I think that your guide, my guide, they want you to listen. They want you to be not petrified, but ready to converse with them or listen to them. So my guide showed up looking like someone who's like, I do a little bit of woodwork. I mean, very handy, some very basic
Mm-hmm.
handyman work around the house. I can shave a little wood here, cut this, do a few things like that. And this guide showed up for me um, as someone who's comfortable with working with wood, almost like an old guy you'd run into at a
Mm-hmm.
hardware store.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And the message that he told me is that whatever you need, however you need me to appear, I'll appear so long as I put you at ease and then you'll listen to me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't want you running. I don't want you, being confused. And so I was dealing with some issues related to some things that I was writing. I was trying to, it may not sound that complicated, but trying to figure out how do I get around a certain thematic issue.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of got my attention. And so my guide explained things to me in a way that was like, of course. And he was using metaphors related to working with wood and to take your time and how to, kind of noodle your way through some issues. I'm not fully describing it, but it was informative. And so your guides are going to show up if you're comfortable with your third grade teacher, who was really wonderful to you, was the first person that saw a spark in you, saw something different, and that you became attached to this person. You
Mm-hmm.
appreciated them. Your guide may take on some of those characteristics. My sense is that our guides will use whatever we bring to the table in order
Mhm.
to more effectively communicate with us. So if you're open or you like a certain kind of person, you're open to talking to someone that might be
Mhm.
like your brother, your
Mhm.
sister, your mom, they'll 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 have some of those attributes so that you'll want to sit, you will go, okay, I can relate to you. Tell me something I don't know.
Interesting. Now, can you also get like messages from photos?
Yes. Um,
Yes.
and I'll get names. I'll get, you know what it is like if it's a photo of, say, someone that you know or love, um,
Mm.
and then I'll get like this one man handed me a photo that was like a sepia tone picture from the 1930s.
Mm. Mhm.
20s, I don't know, somewhere in that era, but it was sepia tone,
Mhm.
all shades of brown and autumn.
Mm.
And
Interesting.
and he said, "What do you get from this?" And the first thing I heard is, "Oh, this feels like a photo of someone named Miriam." Says, "Yes, that's my grandmother, Miriam."
Uh-huh.
Okay, then Miriam says she's very happy with the work that you've done in the garden. And she's like, "Oh God, we were just in the backyard replanting and doing things this past week. We've been working extensively in the landscaping in and around the back of the house." Well, Miriam is aware of it. She wants you to know that she's happy and proud of you. Also,
Mhm.
too, when I get that kind of a connection from a photo and
Mhm.
I'm able to talk about it, it lets the person know that, this person that you miss and want to talk to is in your house with you. It's nothing scary, it's nothing ominous, but they come to visit, even if you're not conscious or incapable of hearing or not listening, hearing them,
Mhm.
they hear you. It's
Mm.
like I had clients, it's like showing me this client that it's your husband. I established previously in the reading your husband was here, and he's showing me a bouquet of he's showing me red geraniums. So as I'm staring at a red potted geranium. Okay, well then he's sitting next to you. That's how, and so there's hopefully comfort in hearing that, oh, this person is next to me, with me, there for me, hasn't abandoned me.
Mhm.
Well, because people are like, why did you leave? It's like, well, I wasn't trying to leave, but it was my time to go. And a lot of reasons why it was my time to go, but I did. Um, Also, too, sometimes guides will come up with things that I would read for a lady today, and
Mhm.
she was hoping to have a child. And so I said, okay, first thing I'm getting is I'm seeing like I'm seeing a baby with a birthmark that fades away and out of sight. And she says, well, I had a birthmark when I was a baby and it faded out of sight. So, well, then it's very likely that we're looking at your child who's going to get this attribute of a disappearing birthmark, kind
Mhm.
of pink light gone.
Mhm.
And
Interesting.
so she felt really good. And it was her
Mhm.
grandmother who had come in and said, don't worry, stop freaking out. You're going to
Mhm.
be okay.
Uh-huh.
Everything will work out. So it's like you never know. And it's like, how would I mean, a birth, I didn't have any birthmarks. I didn't. So it's like, but she did. And it would be likely or not unusual for one person. You give birth to someone and they share something that you had.
Okay, so I'm going to share a picture with you. We're going to try this live. Inger had to go because it's 2 o'clock in the morning there in Europe. Thank you, Inger. I hope you come back, dear. I know it's tough. Um, but you know what? You've asked a question. If you feel like if you have like the name of somebody that may have passed over, maybe we could try that as well that you
Mhm, mhm,
wanted to hear from. We could always give that a try. And in the meantime, I'm going to screen share a photo.
mhm.
And I just want you to tell me whatever you get from this, okay? Let me
Okay.
know whatever you might get from this.
Um, hmm. Um, I mean, it doesn't look military. It looks, I mean, it's got camo. Um, I get the sense that someone was injured in the back of this. I don't know if that makes any sense. Feels like injury passing in the back of this. Feels like that this I it feels like that there was someone that perhaps more than one person passed in this vehicle. And it's hard to see this, but it feels like um last vehicle for someone going through. Um it just feels like I feel like a sense of violence connected to this. Um, I the graffiti on top doesn't really make sense, but it feels like that's an after effect, afterthought. Um, the other thing I'm getting is like someone having like nausea and stomach problems associated with being in this or connected to this vehicle. I want to feel nauseous, want to throw up, and it feels not good. So that's what I'm getting for this. I don't know if that relates to anything. Certainly,
Mm.
um, not my happiest message.
No, but still it's an important one. It says west on the top of it, but it's pointing south. Um, that's weird. Yeah. And I had a friend of mine in the military actually look this up, and the military has no camo pattern like this whatsoever. And military has specific camo patterns, and I think they even patent them or trade or
Sure.
copyright them or something.
Well, this
This
looks handmade or kind of goofed up.
does because they look like mittens. Um, yeah, like in who, yeah, exactly. So was something nefarious going on with this.
Yes, definitely. It feels like nausea, someone either being ingesting something really bad for them. It feels like that there was um, more than one passing. Do you know anything about this vehicle? Am I anywhere in the ballpark?
I don't.
Okay.
I don't. That's why
It's
I'm asking you.
all right.
Yeah, because
Well,
yeah. Mm, okay.
nausea, pain, stomach. Um, Not a
Mm.
good passing. Not a good passing.
But was this okay? So was this these
Feels like
people?
someone was killed in this vehicle.
Yeah, more than one probably, right?
Yes. Feels like that there, it feels like, again, I don't know if they were poisoned or something caused them to have a bad reaction. That could also be drug related. That would
Mm.
tie into the nausea, the more than one person passing. It feels nausea, shaking. It feels like that someone, more than one person died connected to this vehicle.
Oh boy. Well, okay. So that's interesting information. And I'm not surprised. I mean, look at the windows. They're all tinted black, and this doesn't exactly blend. So, it kind of does stick out a little bit depending on where
Yeah.
that is. But okay. Yeah. So we'll talk about it a little bit more later, but that's interesting that you get that. I mean,
Yeah.
I never saw anyone coming and going. I never saw them park and leave. I never saw anything like that. So I don't know, what's involved in it. It was very, very strange. It just kind of appeared one day and was there for a couple days and then left.
This feels,
So
let me just go a little bit further. This feels like that there was something really crooked, like these, there, it isn't government, but it is someone that is paid to do bad things.
mm. And to whom?
Whoever they're assigned to hurt.
You can't you can't tell.
This feels like someone that would it, oh, the vehicle itself is intimidating. This is that they would be willing to be try to intimidate you through the presence of this vehicle. It's asymmetrical in terms of how it's um, painted, how it's done. It's
Mhm.
supposed to be secretive. This feels like people that would, given the proper inspiration, would hurt other people, poison them, drug them. Drug overdose feels like a very simple, part of their repertoire. So my sense is that I'm glad these people are not near you. I
Mhm.
don't like them. I don't trust them. It feels, again, they're not above taking someone.
Mhm. Got it. Okay.
All right.
Just just whatever. It doesn't, um, yeah, thank
There's
you for
not
that.
the
Yeah,
bad
yeah.
people doing things at someone else's behest,
Hmm.
and the markings on the roof.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, strange.
this was about for them to be coordinated from above. There's no other reason for it.
Exactly. Right.
And their
Satellite.
satellite and/or helicopter.
Right. Mm.
That,
Strange though.
you know, part of it is you can direct them or they can be followed. But why
Yeah.
would anyone put something on the roof of a vehicle if they
Right.
want it to be followed?
And an
It has,
arrow.
yeah,
An arrow. I mean, like, what's the point of that? All right. Well, that's interesting.
nausea,
Mm,
poison, overdose. Feels like something they could do quite easily. You know,
mm, mhm.
um, I don't like them.
Okay. So that's interesting. Let me just check in with our chat and see if we have some more questions from our yeah, hi Destined for Greatness. Yeah, she's back. Thank you for joining us again. Okay, so Sunny's asking if you can talk about the state of the world, our country, and any predictions that you may have, any updates for predictions.
Yes. I get the sense that there's going to be we're in a quiet before some conflict. I feel like that I would encourage everyone, if you're going to do travel, travel sooner than later.
Hmm.
I feel like that there's going to be people that are um, cause I hate to say this, and I'm not trying to be a conspiracy theorist, but I can only go by what I'm trying to give what I hear and see. I feel like that there's going to be there will ultimately be fighting between Israel and Iran. Israel or Iran is biding its time till it's ready to do what it needs to do. I feel like that there are splinter groups or not splinter groups, um, cells, terrorist cells here in the United States that will be given the message to wreak havoc, to disrupt our um, utilities. They're really going to focus on utilities. I also feel like I'm hearing truck bombs. I feel like that these are not highly technical. I mean, these can be done by people with basic tools. So my sense is that be cautious around the election time. This will not be a conventional election. There will be disputes. I do believe that after the election, there will be more conflict, rioting, there will be more anger. So I want to ask everyone that be prepared. I mean, you've heard all of this before, but my sense is that be prepared to have a week or so of food in the house if you need it at a given time. Doesn't mean that you have to have eat like a king, but it feels like there will be disruptions in utilities, internet, and information, and that have ways to communicate with people you love, be it through um, walkie-talkies, which are pretty amazing. You can go up to 100 miles with a walkie-talkie.
No way. Really?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know
I
that.
bought our daughter one who lives, she's like 50 miles away, and I think it goes up to about 100 miles that you can set up walkie-talkies. These are not, you know, um, toy store,
Yeah,
walkie-talkies. These are
sure.
more serious walkie-talkies.
Sure.
Or I would have those in place, or um, local phones may go out. So have a plan to reach someone long distance. You got to talk to someone in another state. See if you can even get out. Okay. And batteries may be very useful to have, be it to charge a phone, to charge utilities. Um, I would say if you can get a small generator, any kind of a generator, keep the gas, put it through a dry run, know how
Mm.
to operate it. Because I
Oh,
feel like that
sure.
we're going to lose access to some things for a little while,
Hmm.
and then things will get better. But it's going to be complicated at times.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wish I had a happy news, but that's
Well, you know what? You know what? It's news that helps us prepare and protect ourselves and our families. And that's, you know, valuable information to have. So thank you for giving us that. Even though you don't feel it's the best news, it is good news because who wouldn't want to know this so that they could prepare, right?
Having extra food, like I said, if you
Mhm.
have weapons, make sure you know how to use them. I think that by and large, the police will have that. Your major job will be if you're on a prescription. Do
Mm,
you have access to a little bit more of that medication? If there's a delay for a few weeks, will you be okay?
mm,
If you have insulin, if you do something like that, have a plan in the event that it's not available to you. And you use firewood, have a little extra firewood around. Basics, you know. It's
mhm.
just a matter of like getting through um, what I would describe as a rough period of time. I also believe too that having friends that knowing your neighbors, talking to people that you can trust, it just makes a lot of sense to at least have a connection with some people because they may have something you need and vice versa.
Yeah. Well, I guess, that's going to be tricky with some neighbors, but
Yes.
yeah, yeah.
If you live in a
So,
neighborhood full of unpleasant people,
yeah.
make sure you know how to lock your doors and to be
Mm.
self-sufficient for a week or so.
Now, you said something about, there's going to be some unrest after the election. Does that mean, are you giving us a prediction here that Trump's not going to be reelected?
I think that Trump will be reelected. I see Trump winning. I see some people being very upset with that outcome
Yeah.
and taking to the streets.
Yeah.
So that's how I see that going. Uh,
Mm,
I see him succeeding, and then I feel like that a lot of people are going to feel threatened by that and will act out in ways that are not pleasant.
I
I
see.
wish I could just say, "Hey, everyone's going to play nice. It'll all be good." You know,
Gotcha. Gotcha. Right, right. So, what do you think about the sun? What do you think about what's going on with the sun lately?
people
We've been
just
having a lot of coronal mass ejections, X flares, very high M flares, a lot of activity, more so than usual. This is a lot of people are, um, making those comments.
well, when I look at solar flares, to me, it's I feel like God. I mean, whether you call God God, Jesus, the divine,
Mhm,
um, the universe, whatever it is,
mhm,
I
mhm,
feel like that the universe, God, all Jesus are
mhm,
going to try to connect with us in some way, shape, or form. I feel like that
mhm,
there can be some spiritual energy behind this. Um, it makes me think too that this I don't think that they're controlled. I don't think we it's pretty obvious we can't control the sun. We
mhm,
can impact local weather. That's been pretty well established. So what does it mean for us in the long haul? I am concerned about some um, if the sun is doing flares,
mhm,
how that could disrupt communications, um, which would here's the thing too, is that there is such a thing as never waste a good emergency or
Yep.
disaster.
Okay.
So let's say we have intense solar disruptions to our communications.
Okay.
Who would use that to their benefit? A lot of bad people.
Mm,
So never waste a good emergency or a good disaster. Some
gotcha.
people will be all over it. That's why, like, I do have some concerns about earthquakes in the
Mhm.
California area. I know since,
Right.
the dawn of time, people are saying California's falling in the ocean. No, it's
Mhm,
not falling in the ocean. I don't see anything related to that, but
mhm,
I see people take bad people taking advantage of uh, a disaster or um, a breakup in normal communications and energy and use. And there will be people who will, unfortunately, try to leverage breakdowns in uh, policing, our ability to protect ourselves. There will be people that would want to do that. And right now, we don't know about many, many, many millions of people here who would
right.
be inclined to take advantage of a difficult situation.
Yeah, and I'm trying to find another photo that I thought that might be helpful and useful, but I haven't found it yet. But that doesn't mean I won't. Um, so it's interesting. Let me see if I can find, I mean, this is great. Let me just go back to the chat and see. Okay, so here. Any messages for Maggie from Spirit?
Maggie from Spirit.
For Maggie, yeah,
Oh,
Maggie.
Maggie. You know what? I get kind of a celebratory bump. I know I tend to hear a lot of the negative things.
Mm-hmm.
I see her being in a somewhat celebratory mood. So I feel like there's someone on the other side, either holding up a baby, holding up something overhead. Feels like that you have something to be excited about. My sense is that uh, I would not be looking down. I would look up. In fact, that's
Mm-hmm.
literally what I'm
Uh-huh.
seeing, Maggie. You're looking up and you're seeing something being given to you. So I
Mm-hmm.
would encourage you, if you're worried about a relationship or work, it feels like something is being given to you.
Uh-huh.
So it feels like a gift from up high, I'd almost say, you
Wow.
know? So hold that. Be willing to accept that. Feels like that my feels like that feels like there's a guy in spirit. Um, he doesn't look that old to me. He's in his maybe 60s.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like he passed a little early. If it's not a dad, it's like an uncle. And he's saying it's you're gonna get something come to you in a nice way. So take it, accept it.
Very nice. That's very nice. Well,
It's
move.
the other negative stuff that I tend to hear
Yeah,
or
right. I have Julie's video. Her name, I guess, is she's Julie. Is there any meaning to her having issues with the sight in her left eye? Mm,
um
Julie's video. That's the name
okay,
of, that's her name. Jay.
Julie's video.
Hmm.
This feels it's doesn't feel like diabetes. Um, it feels like kind of a rare, um, uh, it this feels like something that I would say is treatable. Feels like something that can be reversed. It's not diabetes. Um, it feels like that uh, it's an I almost feel like that there may be an infection behind this that could be clouding or messing up her vision. Want to ask her to talk to a doctor about is it possible to have an infection in and around the eye that could be um, causing her to see floaters? Because I feel like it's treatable. It's
Hmm.
not a permanent progression.
Mm. I've heard people use castor oil on their eyelids to I don't know if it's real, but I've heard people treat cataracts sometimes with castor oil. So I'm just saying, I'm not a doctor. I'm not giving medical advice. I'm
No.
just saying that I have heard this. I don't know anyone personally, and I am trying it myself. So I'll let you know if it works.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I've
We also,
used castor oil for different skin issues and knee
yeah,
pain.
yeah,
So, and I think it's been positive mostly.
yeah. We have Jane Hoffman wants to know if she has any advice from her ancestors. Jane Hoffman,
Jane Hoffman. Um,
or messages or whatever.
Right. I feel like, I get this visual of Jane having to be, don't sit back. I feel like that. It's almost like I see you charging forward, taking action. Feels like that you might even be armed, or I mean, I'm not saying like this
Mm,
feels a metaphor. It's like
mm,
attack the thing that is bothering you, go after this. I also feel like that if you kind of go after a problem that is dwelling hanging out there in front of you, it's like if you can almost make it go away fairly quickly. So, legal issue. Feels like if there's any legal problem, do not wait for it to come back. Feels like go after this. I'm seeing like go after the issue, deal with it. Feels like that if it's not legal, there's a financial issue. Chase it down, be after it. Feels like that your proactivity pays off beautifully. And
okay,
that
great.
she
Mm,
it feels like this is something almost like an issue of the heart, more than like a real bona fide
mm,
concern. So that if she
mhm.
changes her approach, she can she just feels like she's handled a lot of things. This
Mhm.
one, there's some kind of a, oh, one last, her name again was Julie? Was it
Julie's video, yeah.
Julie's video?
Julie, yeah, I don't know what
Okay,
her,
what I see with Julie too is it feels like that this um has been something that she's had to deal with. It feels more of like it's it's like a challenge that goes beyond being, like I say, financial or um, legal. It's almost like this is a challenge you've dealt with before or had to deal with in another life. Go after it, and then this feels healing
mm,
to fix this one issue that is kind of looming in front of you. Fix it,
mm.
and then you find that life gets easier.
Very nice. Thank you so much for that. We have a couple more before we close the program tonight.
Okay,
So
let's
we
do
have,
one more tonight. Let's say we get one more.
well, okay. Well, let me just clarify something that you had said.
Sure,
Did you see these calamities that were happening, before I go to the last question,
sure.
did you see, did that include like natural events like Yellowstone
Yeah.
and things like that? Was
I don't see
Yellowstone part of that?
Yellowstone. I
Yeah.
feel like ground tremors. I know that Yellowstone is being active. I feel
Mm-hmm.
like that we're going to see um, it. I do tend to think that, well, Yellowstone is out west, somewhat out west. It's not on the coast per se. Um, it feels like that there will be. This is not an Earth-ending event. This is not a North America destroying event.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it's contained in a very regional way, and
Okay.
and it's not going to be an international or even national disaster. But I do feel like that ground shaking in California will coincide with civil unrest.
Aha. Okay. So that does clarify that more of that civil unrest, some of it is going to be, we're going to have some natural ish, disasters involved in that too. Lovely. Can't wait. All right. So the last reading for today is Cryptic Christie in Mississippi. She'd like to know if Spirit has any messages for Christie.
Yeah, you know, I'm feeling like I'm being told, I'm seeing her like laying down tarot cards. I don't know if she reads them. I know her name is Chris Cryptic, but my sense is that I see you putting down cards and then kind of throwing them to the side and trusting yourself to say, this is what I need to do. Um, I do feel like that there is someone that you need to rely on that is lying to you. So my sense is that put the cards down, or your best tool of divination is going to be your intuition right now, natural state of things. But I feel like that someone is like either like picking your pocket a little bit or being dishonest with you. And I would be open to like watch if you think someone is doing something that is not in your best interest or they're acting like nothing is wrong, there is something wrong. Okay? Feels
Mm.
like you're sensing it, you're seeing the result. Someone is taking something that belongs to you or something that you need is diminishing. And trust your intuition because I feel like that you may be getting your pocket picked a little bit.
Okay, well, thank you for that message. That's an important message. And if you wanted to find out more about Mark Christopher Nelson, our psychic medium here at the Food for the Soul, you may go to this website right here, and it is marknelsonmedium.com. And you can book an appointment, have a personal reading, and which is much longer than this. This is like you get a quickie, a quick 30-second, 1-minute quickie here. But it gives you enough of a example of Mark's work and what he does. And very funny. The first thing Mark said tonight was hello from Max. And of course I've had Max on my report many times, and I knew exactly who he was talking about. So that, I validate him every single time. And sometimes I do it privately because sometimes I may have to for other reasons, but he's amazing. I mean, that's why we have him on Goldfish Report. So it's marknelsonmedium.com, and you can come here and you can click on readings, special offers, testimonials, resources, and more. So Mark, it's been a pleasure as usual. Thank you again for joining me. This has been
Always,
very
it's always
interesting.
fun. Well, I love hanging out with you. We get into all kinds of stuff, and you're
We
right.
do.
It's like it's on. It's a we go all over the place, and I think that that's fun, and it
Yeah.
makes it interesting, hopefully, for our listeners. And I hope that they like.
Yeah.
I know you're spiritually evolved, and you've got things that
Yeah.
you're aware of, and I like to
Hmm.
think I can bring
Hmm.
some of that too. And it's like you get to hang out with someone. You can get have an hour or so of a really cool conversation, and I hope that was the case for people tonight.
Yeah, I hope so too. And I think that it was, and everyone had said thank you for their readings as well. So very nice people. And our hearts go out to everybody, and especially Vicky, who we know is going through a really tough time right now. And I don't know. It's just so many people are leaving us right now, but we have to keep on keeping on. So we will be back next Friday, and I hope you'll be there to join us. So Mark, you're on for next Friday?
Yes, I
Good.
am.
Okay, good. So we will see you next Friday, and we'll see our viewers next Friday as well. So you may see me before then because I'm still working on this report for Steve. It's a very difficult, it's going to be a labor of love, but it's going to take a little while, and it'll be done when it'll be done. That's all I can say. So as you can see, I'm in a new spot this week, so I'm I'm getting kicked out from all my places. So I'm trying to find a new place to do my reports, and we're all trying to work around each other. So we'll see how that goes. But everyone have a great weekend. Be safe out there, and we'll see you next week. This concludes this edition of the GoldFish Report.